So we're still working on our 6-4 note, and you guys can pause the video for virtual learners, find the x and y intercepts for 1 and 3, and then press play to hear me go over it. All right, so we're going to go ahead and start going over. For number 1, raise your hand and help me find the x-intercept. What do you have to do to find the x-intercept? Go ahead. Very good. We're going to place the y with 0. Have you guys noticed the pattern that when you multiply by 0, this just drops off? So we're just left with x equals 18, right? So what is that ordered pair? 18, 0. Yes, very good. You're exactly right. Yep, you're exactly right. So for my y-intercept, what am I going to plug 0 in for? X. So x is equal to 0. So if this x is 0 right here, guess what happens to it? It's gone. So I have 2y equals 18. So what's y equal? 9. Now the key is you got to write that as an ordered pair. So what's my x coordinate? 0. What's my y coordinate? 9. Anybody have questions on that so far? Good? All right, so for this one down here, for number 3, for your x-intercept, y is 0. So I just sometimes like to kind of scribble it off, because y is 0, it's gone, right? So what does x have to be? Yep, so x is -6. So what's your ordered pair? -6, 0, very good. And then if I want my y-intercept, x is 0. So this -5x is going to be gone. So what's y equal to? 30. So what's your ordered pair? 0, 30. Very good. How do you guys feel about that so far? Good? I love standard form. It's my favorite. So example 2 says to graph 3x plus 5y equals 15 using the x and the y intercepts. I have to make my own graph paper up here. But if you guys have graph paper, you are more than welcome to use it. Or if you need some more graph paper, you are welcome to go grab some. And we have to start by finding the x-intercept and the y-intercept. So if you're finding your x-intercept, which one is 0, x or y? The y, right? So that y is just going to disappear. So we're going to have 3x is equal to 15. So what's x equal to? 5, right? So see how minimal amount of work I'm showing? Not a whole lot, just a little bit. So what would your ordered pair be? 5, 0. Yep, 5, 0. For your y-intercept, what do you plug in 0 in for? X. So my x is going to disappear because we're multiplying it by 0. So 5y equals 15. So what's y? Y is 3. What's your ordered pair? 0, 3. Go ahead and graph each of those points. So you have to graph the point 5, 0. You have to graph the point 0, 3. Connect those 2 points, and that's your graph. Make sure when you make your graph that you're putting arrows on both sides of it, because that graph's going to keep going on and on forever. What type of slope does this graph have? Negative. Yep, this is a negative slope for my graph here. Any questions on that? So this is just a different way to graph an equation. You know how to graph an equation in slope-intercept form. This is how you graph an equation in standard form. And let's go to 13 and 17. We're going to do the same thing here. Graphing using our intercepts. Virtual learners, you can pause the video and practice doing this, and then press play when you're ready for the response. y is equal to 0. So we get x is equal to 2. So your ordered pair should be 2, 0. So my x-intercept is 2, 0. For my y-intercept, I want x to be 0. So I end up with y equals 2. So for this first one, we have to graph the point 2, 0, 0, 2. Connect those 2 points. And what type of slope does that line have? Negative. Good. That's a negative slope because it's decreasing from left to right. Questions so far? All right, number 17, for my x-intercept, I want y to be equal to 0. So I'm going to replace y with 0. So I'm left with negative 2x equals negative 6. So what did you get for x here? 3. Very good. So my ordered pair would be 3, 0. For my y-intercept, I want x to be 0. I'm going to replace x with 0. So what did you get for y? Negative 6. Very good. So your ordered pair would be 0, negative 6. Ooh, I didn't make my graph big enough. Yep, you got to graph both of them. I'm going to do mine on the same grid so I don't have to make another one. So I'm graphing 3, 0 in blue, 0, negative 6 in blue. So what type of slope does this line have? Positive, because it's increasing from left to right. Good. Questions so far? Yeah, go ahead. Yes, write the ordered pair. Yep. Write the ordered pair, because sometimes the question will just be, what's the ordered pair? All right, last example for us to do together. And you guys were graphing these as well. So I'm going to go ahead. I'm just going to make one coordinate grid for mine. You guys can just use your graph paper if you want to. All right. We have to graph the line y equals 4. Now, we talked about this at the beginning of our notes, right? I added a problem like this in. What's that? Thank you. You were correct. Nice job. So if my y is equal to 4, what that means is if I have an ordered pair, my x can be anything, but guess what my y has to be? It has to be 4. So I'm going to go ahead and put a 4 where all my y's are. And for your x's, you can put anything there because we only care about y. So I'm going to do 0, 1, and 2. So I'm going to graph the point 0, 4. I'm going to graph the point 1, 4. And I'm going to graph the point 2, 4. So what type of line do we have here? It's a slope of 0. Very good. This would be a horizontal line, and it should be intersecting your y-axis at 4 because y is equal to 4. Questions there? All right, for letter B, this time, x is equal to negative 3. So when I go to write my ordered pairs, guess what x has to be? Negative 3. Yeah, it's got to be that negative 3. Does it matter what my y is? No, I'm going to do 0, 1, and 2. I'm going to plot those 3 points. I'm going to go negative 3, 0, negative 3, 1, negative 3, 2. And what do you notice about this line? It's vertical. What type of slope do vertical lines have? Undefined slope. Yep, so my slope is undefined. It's a vertical line, and it's intersecting my x-axis at -3 because x is equal to -3. They do, yeah, but they only intersect because I put them on the same grid. If they weren't on the same grid, you wouldn't have that. All right, flip to the next page. This is the last piece we're doing today. And I want you to go ahead and tell if each is horizontal or vertical and graph. All right, for number 19, your y has to be -1. So what does your x have to be? Anything, 0, 1, and 2 you can do. So we're going to graph those points. And is that a horizontal or a vertical line? Horizontal, very good. So what type of slope does that have? 0. Yep, it's a horizontal line. I'm just going to write H-O-R-I, horizontal. And it's got a 0 slope. For number 20, which do we care about, the x or the y? 4, 4, 4. And I'm just going to do 0, 1, and 2. So I'm going to graph those points. What type of line do we end up for this one? Vertical. What type of slope do vertical lines have? Undefined. Yep, so this one's vertical, and your slope is undefined. All right, make sure, yes. No, you do not have to do the 3 points. Nope, that's the goal. Go ahead. No, the negative doesn't affect whether it's horizontal or vertical, whether it says y equals or x equals affects whether it's horizontal or vertical. All right, for homework tonight, you are going to have to graph, so please make sure you take graph paper home with you. I want you guys to do 4, 12, 19, 20. Let's do 6, 7, 9. I'm going to do one more. 18. So those are 8 questions. There are 8 pieces on that graph paper, so make sure you grab a piece and put it on Google Classroom.